Yo, what's up? In this video, I'm gonna talk about why it sucks to be a boyfriend. And specifically for you, why it sucks to be a boyfriend to your girlfriend, how it ruins your chances of keeping that girlfriend, and especially why suddenly she wants to cheat on you once you become a boyfriend. I'm gonna go through all of these. I'm gonna share some personal stories and how I sort of dealt with things, and just this weird paradoxical nature of current society, let's say. I don't know if we can blame reality on that. We kind of do, right? But maybe it's our society that doesn't fit with reality instead. And so here's the thing, guys. If you know hypergamy, you heard of this theme, you heard of this term before, you can explore it in my other videos. But basically, just a quick reminder what hypergamy is women is always looking for the best genes. She's always looking for the best genetics. She's always looking for the best man. And then by default, that best man, because he's the best, all women want him. And so he doesn't have shortage of women to sleep with. And so he doesn't really commit, because naturally he wouldn't commit. He could only commit if he's brainwashed into subduing his alphaness and coming down a bit, dimming his light. This is what kind of a lot of Asian cultures are based on dimming your individual light so society can flourish. Because if you allow your fire to shine to its full potential, you make other males appear less attractive, and their women want to sleep with you instead. So, because by default you would not be, as an alpha male, you would not be wanting to stay together with a girl, once you do commit to a girl, she now doesn't see you as alpha anymore. Understand that. Once you commit to a girl, she doesn't see you as the best genes anymore because you committed. Why did you commit to her? It's two reasons. Either you're not really an alpha and she hooked you with sex, because that's what most women hook men into a relationship with, or you've allowed someone to brainwash you, right? You allowed society to brainwash you into subduing your light, into dimming your light, and so you're not an alpha anymore anyway. Sucks. It sucks. And so I'm going to tell you about my first relationship. I was with a girl from my home country, and I felt like something was off. I just felt like something was wrong. I'd get sex whenever I want, pretty much, almost, if you live with a girl, right, we live together, it's not going to be whenever you want, but let's say 80-90% of the times, most of the times, rarely I can remember her saying no, she doesn't want it for some reason. So it was always available, but I just felt like something isn't right. Like the way she's treating me is like, it's just like she's lying to me, but like I feel she's lying to me, but she's saying the things I want to hear. And it's not just in terms of like, oh, you're the man kind of thing. It's like, hey, I was 20 at the time and she was 20 and we were in London, both in London, from Eastern Europe, Northeast Europe. We don't have much money. Our families don't have that much money to easily afford London. So I'm like, yo, get a job. And I'm going to have a job. You're going to have a job. We're going to split the rent for the room because otherwise it's too costly. And, the groceries. She's like, yeah. But that's how she did it. She's like, yeah, of course, sure. Oh, yeah, sure. I'll get a job. Yeah. And so she would lie to me like that. And I felt like something is off. But, I wasn't like very socially sharp. And I only had a mother growing up, so she installed. This is the thing. So if you are a child of, if you're a child of a mother, if you only had a mother growing up, then unfortunately you've been brainwashed into being easily manipulated by women. What happens by default is she installs certain mechanisms in you, guilt, shame, and lots of other things, guilt tripping, whatever, that then your girlfriend can use on you easily. The moment she starts crying, which, again, women sometimes cry for real, but a lot of the times in relationships, they cry just to manipulate you. And if you can't see that, you're just going to be easily manipulated by tears. And I was so easily manipulated by tears because that was like one of the last resorts that my mother could use on me to try to get me to do what she wants, right? Which sucks, right? Because if you want to be a man, you want to do what you want, right? And it's not about like something crazy, like, I don't know, beating people up or robbing grannies. Like, No, it's just like, you want to party till the morning as a guy. And maybe you're 15 when you want to do that. But somehow your mom doesn't want to do that. And so she says that. She tries to, do one thing, another thing, take money away from you, try to beat you up. But, once you get old enough, mom can't beat you up anymore. So she needs something else. And so anyway, I was like that. I was my mama's boy, easily manipulated by not easily, but fairly manipulated by girlfriend. And so, but always something felt wrong. I felt like every time she does something that's out of order and I should dump her, I chose love, because somehow I felt guilty if I kick her out and send her back home to Eastern Europe, that people are gonna think I'm a bad person. So that guilt and shame was there, deeply ingrained. And so I was like, okay, let's try to make it work. But every time I'm like, let's try to make it work. Let's try to make it work for love. I felt like a piece of me getting lost. A piece of me is just gone. And then it's like a death by 1,000 cuts, because over time, I'm just feeling something is wrong. And
she's not treating me right. She's not treating me like a decent human. She's treating me like shit. And so I started, finding ways to kind of like put her back into place, but it really needed something crazy, like me just grabbing her, like shoving her out of the house. Like, bitch, like, just get the fuck out. And just kicking her out and locking the door behind her. She's like, no, let me in. And like, no, you're out. Like, I'm gonna throw your stuff through the window and get out. Like, you're done. That would put her back on the plate, because she's like, oh, he's crazy, can do something like that. But that's just something she needed. Like, she needed that kind of drama to start behaving well. Otherwise, she just like ruined my life. And so, but again, I was too weak to break up with her. I was such a simp, not simp, but I was too scared to break up with her, and I needed to do that for a long time, and I just couldn't. And so I felt something was wrong, and then I found out that she could have even cheated on me with her ex after we got together. And so she was my first girl, but she had an ex before. And slowly, I started finding out stuff that she kind of like loves him and me at the same time, and she doesn't know what to do and she's confused. For me, it was devastating, because I'm only with her, and I'm not like, oh, shall I be with that girl or that girl? Like, I might think, shall I bang that girl or that girl? But I'm thinking if I should be with them. Like, I'm with her, committed, but she's like undecided like that. So she's like leading me on, wasting my time, wasting my life, in my young years, like that, undecided whether she should be with him or with someone else or this or that. While I'm like wasting energy to support her, pay rent, the bills, and like look after her and whatever shit. So it's completely terrible. Now girls are gonna say, oh, you do you, girl, whatever, he's an idiot, But that's the thing. If you're an idiot, women are gonna treat you like shit, and how the fuck if nobody's gonna tell you and teach you? And most men are gonna get burned by women. They're gonna get cheated on, broken up with, divorced at the worst times of their life. It's almost like they wait for the moment when you're vulnerable, and then they stab you in the back so hard that I think like they want you to get suicidal and kill yourself. Literally, like that's kind of like the goal of the girl. So that's what happens. Like by the end of a relationship, like it wasn't good. It just wasn't good. And so for me, again, I'm not proud of this, but this is just what happened to me, and this is what happens to all men. To me, to feel like I'm, as a man, again, after being almost emasculated by my girlfriend for such a long time, I started just banging other chicks, like loads. Labor. I said loads. Banged probably 20 girls in 9 months, which was a lot for me. And it was cheating, obviously, and I lied about it. I lied through my teeth, like, no, honey. Like, I get stoned and my phone will be open and she read all the messages, see all the nudes that she sent, that I got sent, and all the dick pics I sent to them. And I was like, no, that's nothing. No, they're just like joking around, I'm like, okay, like, right. Yeah. That's the reality. That's what it was. A lot of men are like that, I'm not like necessarily saying that's the best way. The best way is to be honest, but also to be powerful. But I was neither of those things. Learning life and growing as a man. So, but this is what happens. And so when you're being kind of forced into a beta frame, but your inner is like, no, what? I want to be alive. I want to be like powerful. I want to, just be like fully whole and like in line with how a man should be. And then that kind of shit happened. And so this is the thing. And so she was basically seeing me as a provider. She would lie to me about trying to get a job, but deep inside, she always thought that no, he's the provider. He's the safe option provider. She would think my ex is like a hot stud, and this guy is like a better provider. So he should just provide for me, give me money, look after me, and make sure that like everything's kind of sorted. And then I was like, honey, do you want to get a job so we can split? You're like, hey, sure, I'm gonna get a job. So that's kind of shit that happened. But actually, deeply, she resented me for asking her to pay rent, because man should provide for a woman, even when he's studying and working in McDonald's or something like that. Whatever job I had at the time, I worked in McDonald's and I worked in a clothing shop, and kind of like coming up really from zero in a big city, in a different country, in a complicated city like London. But she didn't care about that, right? She just didn't care. Like, they don't care. That's the thing. Women don't really care about your struggle as a man. Like, if you're struggling to get a job, if you're struggling to fit in a culture, if you're struggling to find out ways how to make ends meet, and you're studying at the same time, and that's kind of the only options you see, she just doesn't give a fuck, really. Just, pay for me, idiot. You're a better male. Pay for me. And so this is how women operate, and it sucks, and I just don't like that. And obviously, like, no man should like enjoy that unless it's like a kink. But this is like for real when women look at you as a better male provider. They're gonna tell you have to pay per woman and that kind of shit. And I felt like this is just such a chaining image to be put into. And this is another reason I actually left Eastern Europe, is because that's kind of the culture. It's a traditional culture. Again, nothing wrong with shit. I hope I didn't lose much of the audio because my battery died on this thing, which I haven't charged for a long time. But anyway, my voice is loud and powerful, so I'm just gonna talk because that's what I do. So what I was saying is, the culture in Eastern Europe is such that, men pay for women, which is normal, nothing wrong with that. But when all your life you're just being forced into a beta male provider frame, right? When all your life you're being forced into that frame, something is, yeah. When all your life you're being forced into beta male provider frame, and you're really want to do something else, you're gonna rebel, right? Like, again, nothing wrong with paying for women, but equating looking after a woman to being a man, that's different, right? These are different things. That's being a provider. Being a provider is not the same. It's not exactly being a man. A woman can be a provider. Anyone can be a provider, right? That's a different role. It is a traditionally male role, and it kind of should be traditionally male role because, well, women are not going to provide for men in a natural environment, right? They're just scared of everything because that's, they're supposed to be safe because babies are vulnerable and babies are going to die if you're not safe. So you got to do it. Otherwise, dead babies, nobody likes that, right? Well, I'm sure some people like dead babies, but that's a different type of conversations. But anyway, so these are all these kind of mechanisms, always being forced to be something. But the current state of evolution of humanity is you are not supposed to be what someone else is telling you to be. Understand that. You're not supposed to be what someone else is telling you to be. Unless they're telling you to be the best version of yourself, which they don't even know what it's supposed to be. Only you. Right? You know what excites you, what lights you on fire. It's almost like this weird game of discovery. Just like two sides of you the true you and the conditioned you, and the conditioned you is always in the way of the true you, of coming through and shining and becoming powerful and kind of shining that light into the world, right? And so that conditioned you is always getting in the way, and then you kind of, your job is to learn how to remove that identity that believes it's something. This is being as empty as possible is a good way to live, is a happy way to live. And if you want to be very successful with women, it's for sure an easy way to do, because you can fit in any role, a provider role if you have to, an alpha male role, or if you want faster and better results. When a woman looks up to you, from the very, very bottom to right here, she will never cheat on you. She will never do anything to harm you when she's just afraid to lose you, right? They're going to say, oh, I'm tired of walking on eggshells. Of course you're going to be tired of walking on eggshells. Go to the sauna, take a bath, have a nap, and go back on the eggshells, right? But you have to learn. There's two things you can do. You have to either become super powerful, most desirable man in the world, or you just learn how to create an image of that. And that's an easier thing to do. And that's why celebrity exists as a whole thing in the first place. People learn that image can be created, and an illusion of it can be kept alive by the art of it, the art of being famous, and the art of marketing. And so then that works in women really well, and then women just want to sleep with you straight away, by just like that, which is great if you want to sleep with other women. But I guess there's other things in life that also people enjoy. But let's understand that you have to be an expert at seducing women, but you have to understand psychology and what's going on behind the scenes well enough to make sure that doesn't ruin the family and doesn't stab you in the back. And for the very least, men are brought up by their mothers in such a way that they crave their mother's love. And so when they get into a relationship with a woman, they want to get that love, the same love that they were getting from their mother, and then they stopped getting from the mother. They want to get that same love from a girlfriend. And so that's why they become like babies in a relationship, and girls often don't like that. They're like, he's acting like a div. I feel like I'm a mother to him. They hate that. They don't want to be a mother to you. They want to be, they rather want to be a girl and you be the father, That's why it's very popular to say daddy right now, a pati, a papacito, or all that stuff, right? Not wrong, a bit weird, but fuck it. That's the reality. And so they want to be looking up to you, but then you have this need for mother's love that your mother won't give you anymore, and you kind of look for it in a girlfriend, and you become weak and vulnerable, and sometimes those girls will give you that love. Sometimes they want that kind of relationship, but you become so entangled emotionally that if anything happens, she leaves you, she cheats on you, she looks at another guy, she goes on a holiday trip with girls and does something wrong, you're going to be emotionally wrecked. And once you're emotionally wrecked, your life is going to go to shit. Most businesses or jobs go to drain, fitness drops, start drinking, start doing stupid shit, and your life is ruined. And a lot of guys go through that kind of stuff. It happens all the time, and the worst case is, look at the suicide rate after divorces. Not a great thing. Not a good thing. It's high. It's very high. And so, to avoid this from happening, which I think is good if people don't do that, I want you to learn about dating psychology, understand female nature, but also not just understand it intellectually, but get comfortable with it. Get comfortable with it by being exposed to it again, and again. You have to participate in the hookup culture, but if you are exposed to hookup culture by just visiting nightclubs, going to parties, going to famous cool trendy events, you'll see a lot of girls that are quite promiscuous. If a girl is walking in and is hugging every security guard like, oh, hey, I'm not saying she slept with all of them, but maybe she did, right? Maybe she slept with everyone at the club, and they're all kind of down for that kind of stuff, and that's cool as long as it's still consensual. But just understand, female sexual nature is quite greedy. She wants everyone. She wants to try every flavor, right? Kind of like us, right? In that sense, they say women are different because of the babies and all that. Yeah, but when babies are out of the way, their sexual nature is different and deeper and darker, I would say. Quite a lot darker. Read a book about female fantasies in bed. Uh, for example, My Secret Garden is a very good book, an introduction to what women fantasize about. And then again, nothing wrong with that. Collective shadow. That's just how it is. That's okay. Or okay, like, sure. But on a societal level, it's unacceptable. That's why it's a taboo. But for you, you have to just get comfortable with it a little bit more. So you're not like scared of the shadow of female sexuality, because you will see certain things in your life, certain patterns you might be intimidated by. And then she's going to feel more powerful than you. And on average, women are sexually a bit more crazy than most men. Most men are quite vanilla. They don't want to do quite a lot of stuff, right? They're pretty much, yeah. Like an example for a vanilla guy, an example of a kink is like, oh, a girl with glasses. Like a girl with glasses is a kink. Well, for her, it will be like some leather, BDSM, and all sorts of like fetishes and role play. And that's not even like too crazy. That's like, okay, that's like a baseline. Again, everyone's different. But on average, as I'll say, in the Western world, women are a bit more advanced in being sexually open than men on average. And so men are kind of lagging behind. And so women feel a lot more confident than men. And also they feel like they have to hide kind of their nature and pretend to be a very good girl. Well, you could help her to be a good girl in the outer world if you create a safe container for her to be a bad girl. But you have to be okay with her expressing that. And so you create a container at home, in your bedroom, wherever you're going to go. Like, you can lead that, and then you can lead that exploration. If you're just a little bit ahead of her, she's going to look up to you, and she's very, very, very unlikely to cheat on you, okay? Because you always have a bit more excitement for her to explore, right? Like, if you're always a little bit ahead, she's going to be like, oh my God, like, I'm always catching up to him sexually. So it's going to be hard for her to look at other guys because she didn't even fully get you. But when she fully gets you and that continues on a plateau, like, okay, that's just his, that's everything. It's done. And women are pleasure seekers. They love pleasure. Again, I'm not bashing women here, but they love pleasure. They love shopping. They love food. Foodies. They love drinks, different flavors of drinks, and they obviously love intimacy, sex, a lot. And so they want to explore it more and more and more and more. And so if you're with a sexual woman that has a sexual nature that's beautiful, but you feel her spiciness charged up, you have to take control of that part of life. It's very important. It's very important. Otherwise, unfortunately, she's very, very likely to cheat on you. And I don't want that to happen to you guys. I don't want people to be devastated. Ideally, the strongest position you can have for a relationship in the modern world, the safest position is that anyone can sleep with anybody. I'm just going to say it because that's the truth. The safest position in the modern world is that anyone can sleep with anybody, including yourself, including whoever you call your girlfriend or boyfriend or wife or husband, whatever. In this way, you will never be cheated on. There will never be infidelity. Understand? There's no confines, there's no restrictions, there's no taboo. Firstly, it's not bad to sleep with someone else, so it suddenly becomes less interesting because it's a kink. To break the rules, it's a kink. So you make it less kinky, you make it less sexual, you make it less interesting. And but what to do with jealousy? It's mine. Understandable. I'm gonna make a different video probably on that, or maybe I'll add that one later. But that's the safest position to have. So then, nothing can take you by surprise. You just know it's gonna happen. Oh, but what if she sleeps with someone else and leaves me? All of these tears come up because you're afraid to lose the source of that mother's love that your mother stopped giving you. So you have to, if you really want to be independent as a man, you have to learn how to let go of that desire to be nurtured and caressed by your mother. And so one very powerful way to do that, that's going to work for some people, is to find God. Find something else to base their form the worldview on. God, religion, spirituality, that kind of stuff works. Not for me, right? But it works for some people. For me, I just went through shitload of adventure, traveled the world, slept with lots of women, and done some crazy things in my life. And so, um, by getting rejected a lot, not just by women, not just by coming out to women and being rejected by women, by being rejected by society, by social groups, by cool kids, by nerds, by business people, by troublous people, by rich people, by poor people, by constantly being rejected by all sorts of societies, you really become independent and immune to levels of approval. Now, there's probably still some level of approval that I need in terms of like being a decent human being, but that's kind of like present in all societies. That's almost kind of like these human kind of need. But I don't have I don't have to like a need to fit in with like that group of people or that group of people. Oh, oh, what should I do for British people to consider me British? Oh, what should I do for Eastern Europeans to consider me this? What should I do for yoga people to consider me that? What should I do for pickup artists, for alcoholics, for sober people, for yoga people, for meditation people, for spiritual, for non-spiritual, for party people, whatever. Always trying to fit in different groups. And I think somehow luckily being blessed that I really don't fit in any of these groups. There's always something off. Wherever I'm in a little society, something's always a bit off. I don't think there was ever a time in my life, maybe there was, but nothing comes to my mind. So probably not that significant where I was like, oh, this is perfect. I love musicians, I love rockers, I love rappers. I make rap, I make music, I play instruments, I play piano. But neither rockers or rappers or classical musicians fit, drum and bass people, techno people. Like I've been through all of these, yoga people, Buddhists, monks, obviously not Christians or Muslims or Jews. I don't freaking with any of them, meat eaters, vegetarians, vegans, and probably the most interesting group I found was people who are trying to have no food and live with no food, no sleep. I'm like, oh, I'm aspiring to that kind of like drive, if we can get there as a society. And so being lucky like that, I'm kind of immune to really desperately trying to fit in with groups of people. So there's less levers and buttons that can be pushed to manipulate me to doing certain things. And I just don't care if a girl leads me. Like, okay, fuck, I don't care. Go, like, I don't care if any girl leads you, and that's in that way, like, it's harder to keep a girlfriend because if she just ruins my vibe, I'm like, sorry, bye. There's nothing for me to fight for love or anything like that. So in a way, you're less likely to have a relationship if you're like that, but you're more likely to be happy. And if you, as a man, you just need to, sleep for your sexual needs, it's quite easy for you to get laid if you really don't care about what people think of you, because you will quickly find somebody you vibe with well. And, you're just kind of more malleable because you have to fit a certain role or a certain archetype, because this is kind of how female one-night fantasy is that you fit into a certain archetype well, and then she sleeps with you, If you remind her of a celebrity, she likes that. Sometimes they would tell you, oh, are you that person? And what they kind of want is for you to just say yes. And so for them to have an experience of sleeping with that celebrity, they would rather you lie than tell the truth. No, I'm just a Bob Schmo. And, Joe Schmo, whatever. It's not that interesting anymore. So, because, people love living in fantasies. Everybody lives in fantasies, but women, they live in bigger fantasies and they love their fantasies. And they want you to reinforce those fantasies. I was talking to a girl the other day, and I met on the street. We just chatted up, and she invited me to the bookshop she was going for, and we're talking. And then we know each other's names. So she's like, "Hey, let's have different names." And then she's like, she's like, "I'm gonna be Maria, and you're gonna be Juan," like that. And so I'm Juan, she's Maria, and she suggested that because like she wanted us to play like a role, and women wouldn't feel as guilty sleeping with someone if she was pretending to be someone else, like an act, a role kind of thing. So that's why married women justify cheating on their husbands if they're shooting adult content, because it's a job and they're just playing a role. So there's a lot of these things that you can learn about life, and so these kind of things help. But if you're more empty, you're easier to play a role, easier to fit an archetype. Once you feel what she needs, you give it. That's kind of good charity for you and for her. Everyone's happy. So that's what's up with this. That's a good video. I think we're gonna end it here for now. I'm gonna be adding more and more and more cool stuff to the channel. So subscribe, like, comment, ask me what you need to know, what you want to hear about. I'll happily tell you. And until the next time, take care.